There seems to be a bit of a pile on Melanie Phillips online regarding comments she's recently made about whether Britain has the right to self determination in parity to what Israel gets as part of the post war consensus and the settlement of the Jewish people after the atrocities of World War II and their right to a home state, essentially a ethnic homeland. So World War II, or what happened to the Jewish diaspora during World War II, doesn't happen again. And there seems to be a bit of a fallout between Melanie Phillips and other figures on the right. And I'm going to try and get to the nub of what's going on here, because I may not be an academic, but I do know people, and I think it's from a position of fear that Melanie Phillips is reacting the way that she's reacting. And it's completely understandable because of what the Jewish people are going through in Israel. But otherwise, I've never classed Melanie Phillips as Jewish. I've always classed her as British, simply because there are different facets to the Jewish tradition. You can be Jewish and just be a practicing Jew. That doesn't necessarily make you a Zionist. You can be non-Jewish and you can be a Zionist. You can just be a ethnic Jew, meaning you're of the Jewish tradition, but you're not a Jew yourself. Like Neve Campbell, the Canadian actress from the Scream movies. Her family is Jewish, but she is a practicing Catholic. So she herself, even though she's of the Jewish tradition, wouldn't be able to emigrate to Israel because she doesn't have the right of return. So there are different layers to being Jewish and how you can define it. And people are getting quite muddled. And I think Melanie Phillips is getting quite muddled, and it's because she's afraid. She's afraid because when Israel was created as part of the post war settlements and the liberal consensus that was achieved after World War II, if that breaks down, the Jewish state and Israel is under threat, and that's what she is reacting to, in my view. So, with all that said and done, we're going to get into what's actually been going on, which I'm going to begin with now. First thing I'm going to reference is this tweet that Connor Tomlinson put out earlier on today, where he says that Melanie Phillips linguistically defines British as a civic identity. That is the post-war consensus. Before the end of World War II, Britain was never a civic national identity, to which anyone can ascribe. So her defence of British identity is qualified as a defence of a liberal propositional identity, but it isn't. Britain means Scottish, English, Welsh, and Irish, and fits the same criteria Melanie has laid out for Jews to have a claim to their homeland in Israel. However, Melanie thinks that this entitlement is unique, Jewish exceptionalism, in other words, to the Jewish people and Israel. I don't think it's the case. If it's good enough for Israel, it's good enough for us. And I agree with Connor on this particular point. So that's one side of it. Now, to Melanie's defence, she has defended our right to controlled migration in Britain over the decades since World War II, which I'll get into later in the video. But she's mentioned something similar on her own X account, which I'm going to bring up here. Because of the unique and multifaceted nature of Judaism, there is no crossover with British identity. I've written for decades that the British are not only entitled, but should promote and defend their historic nation, identity, and culture. There is no conflict between the two positions, and the suggestion that the Jews want to deny British self-determination that the Jews have fulfilled in the state of Israel is false and disgraceful. So there are the two sides. Now, where I differ with Melanie is I do not specifically think that the post-war consensus of the civic identity in Britain will or can hold, because it was never democratically consented to. We never asked for it, and it's been imposed upon us by our rulers. Now, if you look at Britain, the United Kingdom as it currently is, we have the same criteria that Israel has. We have a shared culture. We have a settled people, whether that's the Celts, the Anglos, the Britons, or the Saxons. We've been settled here for over 1,000 years at least in the Kingdom of England, and I think it's closer to 1,200 years for the Kingdom of Scotland. Settled people. We had a settled religion on these islands, whether that was Protestants or Catholics, but either way, it was Christianity. And that's the situation we're in with that as well. So we'll get into this now. Scotland, 1,600 years. Early missionaries. Christianity's reached Scotland around early 5th century, heavily driven by St. Nenan's mission to the Southern Picts. Celtic Church movement in 563, St. Columbia, etc., turned Scotland into a powerful hub for Celtic Christianity, which spread into northern England and continental Europe. Then there was a unified faith. When Scotland unified the Kingdom of Alba in the 9th century, Christianity served as a foundational state religion. And it's a similar story in England. Let's have a look here. Hang on, where is it? Here. First arrival. Christianity arrived in Roman Britain late 2nd century to 3rd century by Roman soldiers and merchants. Historical records show British bishops attending Council of Arles in 314 AD. The pagan disruption was around 410 AD, invading Anglo-Saxons, pushed the Christian Britons west, reintroducing paganism and to Eastern England. And then it was re-Christianized around 600 AD. So there's always been a Christian tradition here. So we have that claim here in Britain that the Israelis have in Israel. And arguably, it's never been broken, and we've had that tradition, so that argument holds as well. As I say, I think this is from a position of fear, not unfounded, given the circumstances that they found themselves in the Middle East, but it's from a position of fear, not a position of power. So I'm going to end this bit here. Melanie said something recently which is pertinent to the conversation, and I'm going to play the clip now. This is to the British diaspora, whether that is in Australia, America, New Zealand, or Canada, or the broader Western world. Flip it. Instead of what she says about Jewish people, think of it as the British diaspora. This is all we want. We want security in our homeland. So I'm going to play the clip now.
To fight, you need to know and love your identity. Israel gets it. Now, diaspora Jews need also to realize you are not just Americans with Judaism added on. In Britain, they're not just British Jews with Judaism added on. They are part of the British people you are part of the Jewish people and the Jewish nation, and that should come first. First and foremost, you are Jews. Everything else is secondary.
Do you agree with Melanie? Are you British first? She clearly doesn't view herself as British first. It must be lovely to be in a position where you can call another country your home and be welcomed there with open arms. I don't have that luxury. Many people that watch my video will not have that luxury. We don't have another country we can run away to. These are just my opinions. Your mileage may vary. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. I hope I've been fair.